Welcome to the RackForms application development video. I should forewarn ahead of time that this is very much a video dedicated towards developers. If you're not a developer and you're interested in RackForms for building standard web forms, we got some great videos that start off a little bit more gently on the homepage at rackforms.com. Towards the bottom of the page there, we've got a nice introduction. If you are a developer, though, welcome, and let's dive right into it. So what I want to do here is do two things in this video. I want to show you an existing application, and then I want to build a new one for you and show you some cool features of RackForms along the way. So to get started, let me just show you what this application does. I'm going to build this page. Let me scoot this up so we can see everything here. And so what we're doing here is this is essentially a lead generator for an automotive finance company. So we just asked for some basic information. I'm going to submit this through, and I'm going to then basically just hit next to this page. I then go to an application type page. I'll select individually. We have some auto fields that are being filled in here, and a couple fields like this. And I'm going to basically skip all this, go to the next page. We have terms and conditions page here. This guy isn't actually quite finished, so we don't have any formatting going on here, but you'll notice that I have kind of a little contract thing and a scroll bar here. And then also have a digital signature field. So I'm just going to kind of sign that guy. And I'm going to hit submit now. And when I do this, a bunch of things are happening in the background, and all the user sees is this really simple thank you notice right here. So what all happened there? I'm going to go off screen here. I'm going to refresh my email here and make sure that I got my emails coming through here. And let's take a look at it. So the first thing is I have a configuration page. So as PHP developers, we love to do things once, if possible, and not repeat things over and over again. And when it comes to application development, a lot of times that means we have a set of values. For example, email addresses, which are going to change when we go live, right? So we're sending emails off to a test account. When we go live, we're going to go to a different email address. And so to that end, RackForms has the ability to add raw PHP code to any page of our form. And in this case, I'm using that raw PHP code area to define some values. So this is like a configuration page. One in particular here, this email admin, notice standard PHP variable, is then used as the email address for this guy right here. And now this taps into the idea of tokens. Tokens are simply shortcuts for us to access common fields that we would have for a application. And you'll notice in the yellow there we've got a bunch of different ones. We got form fields and session, post, get, and then you'll notice that last one, that $PHP, well, that's what we're using right here. So what's nice about these is RackForms handles all of the boring code for us. So in this case, for example, we have F lead interest. Well, lead interest is one of the form fields from the first page. By doing this field lead interest right here, this F for form field and lead interest, we're saying, RackForms, you handle all the isSet code and you handle all the error conditions if that field's not set. And so it is very much akin to saying, here's a framework for building PHP applications, in that we're going to handle a lot of the boring stuff for you. You just worry about getting data and showing it. RackForms will handle about all the boring stuff, the isSets, making sure the field's sanitized, all that good stuff. You also notice that we went through the form. We had some, it was a seamless experience for us, but we had some choices to make. So RackForms is very much all about allowing us to control form flow and logic. So in this particular case, I have three what we call WW redirect modules, and each one of these is gated. So I have this radio group right here with three options, and these options, based on which one's selected, is how we redirect. So if we select the first options, the still looking negotiating, we're going to go to still looking. If we select found vehicle, we're going to go to found vehicle. And we use this what we call conditional PHP code here. And what's nice about this is it is like a meta code where we just say, take a form field, in this case field lead interest, and then we can say something. So we could say if it's equal to still looking, or we could say if it's not looking. You know, we can do custom code without having to worry about RackForms being too heavy-handed, right? We're never limited because we could just write any logic that we see fit here. Okay, so then we go through. We have other ways of setting dynamic routes too. So in this case, this next button is using what we call submit route. So we can just select any page in our form, and when we click this button, that's where we're going to go. In this case, we're just going to be going to application type, and if I scroll down to application type, which is this guy right here, you notice that I'm using submit route again here, but now we're going to the individual pages. So if I click the individual button, we're going to go to the individual application page, jointly to jointly, and so on. So then we go through those application pages, and we end up at this page right here, this agreement to terms and conditions. A few things to point out is the first is that for this scroll item right here, we simply wrote our own HTML code. So we don't have to worry once again about RackForms supplying like a scrolling text box. We could just write any HTML code that we want right here. And that is, it's a really nice thing to have. Here's our digital signature field, and then here was the PDF page. Now I know we haven't looked at this yet, but when we submitted our signature here, we actually went to this page. We didn't see it as users, but what we did is we took this digital signature and we put it, once again using tokens, in line with the rest of this text for what then became a PDF. So if I, and I apologize it's off screen here, but if I open up this email here, let me shrink this guy down so we can see on the screen, moving in here, we got this information from when we submitted the form, but we also got this contract PDF. So let me, again, apologies, it's not on the screen right away, but we basically got a PDF file which includes our signature, right? So we can do all sorts of cool logic here, and that includes actually adding page breaks. So we wanted to make sure that this contract's in 4 different pages, and so we want to make sure the signature is on the bottom, and then we wanted to have a page break at the right places. So we can do all that cool stuff too. And then finally we went to a big old confirmation page. What's really powerful about this is, once again, as developers, we're going to need to divvy out our data, and we're going to need to do it smartly. And this is a perfect example of that in action. So the first thing that we do is we insert into a user table, and we grab the retval from the primary key field, the auto increment field. We then use retval simply by checking a checkbox here in the rest of our SQL items. So I'm saying retval is now included in this SQL item, it's included in this one, so on and so forth. The idea here, of course, is that when we submitted this form, we create a new user, and then that user ID gets appended to any of these other tables that we're writing to. And then, of course, we have our email item, and this is the one that actually sent out our PDF. Nothing special needed to happen for this guy. All we had to do is just say include PDF file attachments, and that just said, oh, here's a file attachment. Let me include that in the email for you. So very simple. So powerful stuff, and I suppose that the big takeaway here is these are all just standard features, right? So we're using custom code in concert with a lot of the features that RackForms give us. And of course, that's a lot of features, but as you also saw, we are never limited with the way that feature works. We can custom code anything that we need. So finally, let me quickly demonstrate now a completely new form. So I'm going to actually call this comments, and the idea here is I'm going to show you how quick it is. We're at, I think, 8 minutes and 30 seconds here. I'm going to show you how quick it is to build a custom application. So let me add these fields. Let me change their labels. So we'll ask for name, email, and comment. And let me actually, whoops, comment form, if I could type. So we'll say comments form, and then when we submit, we're actually going to go to a confirmation page. I'm going to use a really handy feature called the SQL Plus Automator. So what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to type in a table name and the database name, and it's going to create a database table for us. What's key about it, though, is this is what it's going to look like, right? We're going to have a comments table with these fields in there, but let's say this table didn't exist. So I'm just going to delete this guy. RackForms actually creates that for us. So we just go through, and in this case, just for the ease of use, I'm going to name my fields. And then I'm going to say, RackForms, you create the table and the SQL Plus insert item. And so when I do that, here's my SQL Plus insert item, and if I refresh my tables list here, you can see now that I have my comments table, name, email, comment. So we're about a minute and a half in. Let me go ahead and sample comment. Submit this. We go to our confirmation page, and then here now is our comment in the database. Right? Pretty simple. However, we want to make this a little bit more slick, so I'm going to add a builder page here, and I'm going to add a repeater to this page, and we're going to show our comments to our users. So I'm going to add a simple template called 3-column table, and then I'm going to adjust these fields so they show the values that I want. So we'll say the name, email, and comment field, and then I'll just duplicate that with, again, these are called tokens right here. We have a couple different ways we can edit these. In this case, just typing is simple enough. And what we're going to do then is we're going to select all from comments. And when I build this form, you can see now, here's my comments. But let's actually get a little bit more tricky yet. Let's actually embed this form in our larger page. So I'm actually going to click the iframe embed link right here. And then I'm going to simply copy that code, create a new text element, and paste it into that field. So now we got a form that actually shows our comments in line. So when I build it, it looks something like this. However, we want to make sure that when we submit a comment, we actually redirect. So I'm going to take note of this page name in here. In this case, it's page0.php. And I'm going to add a www redirect module to this page and simply say my redirect address is page 0, and I'm going to have no redirect, no delay before the redirect. And what that does is this: build our form. We fill out our fields. So let's say Steve wants to submit a comment. We'll say here's Steve's comment. And now when I hit submit, we automatically refresh the iframe right here, right? So we've kind of made it look like Ajax, even though it's not Ajax. So there you go. And that's our comment form. So that took about 2.5 minutes to do that. And obviously, if we were to hand code that, it would take significantly longer. And we barely even scratched the surface, of course. We could add lots more features to this. So we could add star ratings, upvotes, downvotes, all that good stuff. But hopefully this shows just some of the techniques that we can use. And perhaps the big takeaway with this form is RackForms, as I've said several times now, and sorry for repeating myself, but RackForms is all about giving you the power. And as developers, we're used to lateral thinking, right? We're used to multiple ways of approaching problems. And in this case, one such idea was to take iframe code and embed it in our larger form page. And then when we combine that with a redirect module, we get this nice Ajax look to our comment system. We didn't have to do it that way. But again, as developers, we love to solve problems, and that's a cool way of solving that particular problem. So with that, hopefully that's given you a good idea of the application creation logic within RackForms. Again, though, we've barely scratched the surface. Perhaps the most important thing is that I love to talk shop, as anybody who's ever discussed jobs with me will attest to. And by that, I simply mean I'm an engineer, not a sales guy. And so if you have a question or a comment about a job that you're thinking about creating, shoot me an email, info@rackforbes.com, or call me direct. My direct phone number is on the top of the site. I would love to talk shop with you. Even if RackForms isn't right for your job, I still love to give advice and help you out with with your job. So with that, I shall leave, and thank you for taking the time to check this out, and I hope to hear from you soon.